Well, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about tools and tactics to build the bond. Now, I mentioned here pre-call or pre-site visit preparation. What I'm talking about here is today, I don't always have site visits with the folks. For example, on the one I just shared with you, I've never met them personally. I've never been to wherever their business location is. In fact, these folks are right now in Belgium. That's their home office is in Belgium. They have a U.S. company, and that's what does all the business. So it's the U.S. company we're going to be buying. But I've never met them personally. But we did this over the call it phone or call, or in our case, it's we use webinars, of course, because that way you really can still see each other. But it's still mostly done through conversation and the ability to see each other, perhaps on a Zoom type of call or a GoToWebinar type of call. So whether it's pre that call that you're going to actually meet with them, or pre-site visit where you're actually going to go out and visit them at their facility, there's a preparation that you need to go into. You need to take that preparation seriously so that when you have that face-to-face meeting or that call, or however the technology permits you to do it, that there's preparation that you've done so you're fully prepared. And part of that is research. You got to do your homework, okay? Because you're going to form that cosmic bond best when you know the business, know their family, and you know the origin story of the business. You know how that business came to be, what they did to develop it, how they actually got their first sales, what it is that they did to become successful. Okay. And you start to ask them the questions that will elicit from them the answers to these stories, but you do the research that you can up front. Today, if you're buying a substantive business, you're going to get what's called a CIM, which is called a CIM. It's a confidential information memorandum. And that's going to give you a very comprehensive background on the company, what it is, how it works, its businesses, its financial numbers, why the seller is selling. It's going to give you a whole bunch of information. Okay, so you want to get into that, but they also have a website. You want to go there. You can use ChatGPT or any one of the other AIs to ask them, tell me about this business. What should I know about this business that's unusual for the business? So you start to ask a lot of questions, of your AI support system, whether it's ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, or any one of a number of, there's many of them out there today. But the point is research, get to know that business, and then frame. Here's the frame. Expunge from your mind that you're buying a business. You're not buying a business. You're continuing a legacy, because that's how the seller sees their business. It's their legacy. And so from now on, your frame is you're going to look at that business on how do you continue the legacy of that business? And then you put yourself in that place and you frame your conversation with the seller so that they get it, that you're there to continue their legacy. You're not there to buy their business. You're there to continue their legacy. So the next thing is initial meeting strategies. This is really important too. Don't interrogate. So many people go to these meetings and they think they're supposed to ask the seller a lot of questions about their business. And they start interrogating. Well, how do you do this? And what do you do with that? How does this work? How much of this do you have? And what do you do to handle that? Or whatever it is, they're asking questions and it's an interrogation. You don't want to do that. Okay. Instead, you want to ask questions like, what's been your proudest moment in this business? Is there a difference in flavor there? Yeah, there's a big difference in flavor there. The seller cringes when he may be asking him some of those other interrogating questions. But when you ask them what's their proudest moment in the business, they're happy to tell you because it's their proudest moment. And the fact that you're listening to them and the fact that you're understanding what this meant to them and the fact that you have an understanding and that you're willing to spend your time to listen to this is the cement that starts to go between the bricks of the building of your cosmic bond. So those of you who say, well, I don't know how to build a cosmic bond. Well, I hope you're listening because I'm sharing with you exactly how you do it. Another question you want to ask them, for example, what would you want the next owner to protect at all costs? Now you're going to find out what's really important to them. And the reason that you want to know that is when you get down to where you really want to close the deal. That's what you emphasize. When we acquire the company, John, you and I are going to be partners for the next 3 years. You're going to have equity in the company, even though we're paying all this money to cash you out up front. And I want you to know that I share with you your concerns to protect X. You want to share with them. There's nothing that builds a cosmic bond like sharing your heart and your soul with the other person who starts sharing their heart and their soul back to you. And you get that going back and forth, back and forth. It's cement that builds that cosmic bond. So you're going to want to share with that soul your values, why you love this industry. And if you don't love it, maybe you shouldn't be going into the business, because a business requires that you like it a lot, at least, and hopefully that you love it. Why? Because if you love the business, you'll never work a day in your life in it. It'll be pure pleasure for you. It'll be a challenge that you soar to every morning when you jump out of bed. Today's another day of building up your business in this industry, and how your vision and the love that you have for it transcends anything that remotely could be construed as work. And how you see the future, including them. So when you share your vision for the future, when you share how you see the business, you want to include them and what they're going to contribute to it and how they're of value to you as part of the building of that process over the next year, 2 or 3 that you're going to be together. And all of that's working to build that cosmic bond between you and the seller. And here's some language that works, right? I see myself as your growth partner, not your replacement. That's a wonderful statement to make to them, all right? Because at the end of the day, you still want them for the next year to 3 years to be an active component in that business, guiding the continued growth of the business, at least until you learn the business yourself or can replace them with somebody else who can now fulfill their space. You're going to want to say to them things like, my job is to make you proud of how this story continues. So you've shared their story with them, right? To telling you how they built the business, how they found it, how they built it, how they developed their products, whatever it is, and how they overcame challenges. If they're telling you all that stuff, right? Because you're asking, you're sharing. Okay. And so my job is to make you proud of how this story continues. That has an incredible emotional impact when you're in the middle of this sharing and storytelling and you make a statement like that. Follow up that deepens trust. Okay. You've had that meeting with them. You've gone to see them. You've had conversations with them over the phone, whatever it is. Every time you send a handwritten thank you card, reference their words in your follow-up. Always explain what comes next and why. And the reason that this is important is it's laying down a trail of confidence building. The idea that you're putting in front of them absolute evidence that you care about them and you care about the transition of that business.